Hello everyone, welcome to Chapter 5 in Advanced Marketing. This chapter is a very important one. This one's about the customer and how you kind of decide who your customer is going to be. So it's a bit of a review chapter. You've gone through this in principles and some of it in consumer behavior as well. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this little lecture, just going to want to kind of hit the high points and kind of summarize what's going on here. Okay. So let's go. So segmentation and targeting, target marketing, basically the whole idea here is that not everyone is interested in your product, and it really doesn't make much sense to spend a lot of time on those who definitely will never be interested in your product, okay? So, the idea that there are certain groups of people also that have similar interests, similar desires, similar purchasing habits, and so it's trying to figure out who your customer is and how you can kind of design things around them. Okay, like it says here, you need to know your customers, who they are, why they buy, things like that. Okay, consumer markets. Consumers go through the consumer decision buying process. It's very irrational. We talk a lot about the rationality of consumers, but in reality, consumers are not really rational at all. So it makes marketing quite challenging. So the steps in the consumer buying process, first of all, is just need recognition. The customer realizes that they have some unmet need or desire. Information search, once they know there is some unmet need or desire, then they start to figure out how to close that gap between your desired state and your actual state. So you dig in, do some information. First of all, you search internally, so this is memory, and then you will do some external search, whether it's asking other people, going on the internet, walking into a store and asking questions. There's lots of types of external information search. Then you start to kind of figure out what are your possible options, and you think about which ones are the best. You evaluate each one, then you make a particular purchase, and then finally you evaluate that purchase after you've consumed it. Okay, so it's important to know what goes on in each of these 5 steps. So just quickly, need recognition. I basically mentioned all this, but there is, needs, there's wants, there's demand, and it's important to identify consumers who have a particular need or want and can back that up with purchasing power, which would result in demand. Okay. Information search, I mentioned, just remember there are internal and external searches. It depends on a lot of things, just how much you love a product category, how much risk is involved, things like that will determine kind of how much search you actually do. If you're just looking for a quick bite to eat, you're not going to spend a ton of time searching for options. You're going to say, well, I normally go to Whataburger, there's one, so I'm good to go. Evaluation of alternatives, again, mentioned this as well, but basically you're going to think about all the benefits you would derive from each of the alternatives and help you determine kind of a choice to make. Once you've made a choice, you make the purchase, okay? So, we in marketing try to facilitate the purchase by, reducing risk, making it easy to go ahead and do the purchase and things like that. Okay, so also, like it says there in the last part, you've got to make sure that you can make the product available to the consumer when they want it. Okay, once you've purchased it, then you basically consume the product, and then you have this post-purchase evaluation. And you enjoyed it, you didn't, you really regret it. There's lots of things that go on here that are considered after, or could be considered after consuming the product, using the product. Cognitive dissonance and dissatisfaction or negative outcomes, and these are some reasons why you might experience these. You end up paying more than you wanted to, the options you didn't pick, you consider more, there's some emotion involved, things like that. Okay, things that impact the consumer decision buying process. Complexity, the harder it is, the more it's going to affect you. Individual influences, things about you can impact the decision. Social influences, just something about your culture or, your reference group, you want to be like the cool kids, and so that's going to impact your buying decisions. Situational influences, time is a huge one. You need a gallon of milk, but you're in a big hurry, so you just stop at the convenience store and you pay more than you would if you had time to stop at the grocery store. Okay. Something you don't see listed here is marketing. Of course, marketing is also a factor that impacts the buying process. In marketing, we try to get into your, evaluation alternatives stage and your purchase decision stage and all of those types of things. So, examples of situational influences, you can see there how pretty the store is, the smells, if it's a food, restaurant, come into play. Salespeople definitely come into play. Lack of time, we've talked about. These are some other things as well. And business markets, so B2B, different types of markets. You've got resellers, you've got commercial, you've got these other types of markets as well that can impact kind of how the decisions are made. Okay. Most businesses have a buying centers. They actually have people that are paid to buy products for the firm. Okay. Lots of other issues here. They're both hard and soft costs and all kinds of things. Reciprocity, you buy from me, I'll buy from you, things like that. The business buying process has a couple extra steps here. Typically, it's a little more formal. The business will develop, what they're looking for. They'll find people who could satisfy their wants and needs, and they solicit bids, and then they select a vendor, and then they process some orders, and then they review how it went, and kind of, rinse and repeat type thing. Okay. Within the business buying process, there are other factors that come into play, environmental factors, things within the organization, something having to do with the individual buyers within the organization could all impact things. Segmentation, you talked about segmentation a good bit in principles, just basically you're dividing up a group into market into groups based on some particular variable for the purpose of understanding them better and finding out who is most likely to buy your product. Okay. In the past, we've had mass marketing where there was no segmentation. We should know by now that doesn't really work. Differentiated marketing, once you have put people into these different segments, you pick ones to target with products, services, marketing mix elements. Okay. You can target, typically, multiple groups with multiple, kind of marketing mix, tactics, or you can focus on one particular segment. There's lots of options there. Okay. Niche marketing, you're gonna focus on one very tiny, very well-defined market, and go after that with all you've got. Luxury products typically engage in niche marketing. Okay. Nowadays we have more individualized segmentation where the individual is considered a segment. So one-to-one marketing is huge. Because of technology, we can do that, mass customization as well. The emails that I get from certain businesses may be different than ones that you get from the same businesses because of the data they have. They're able to customize things in a major way. Permission marketing, businesses love this. You opt in to an email list, so you're basically saying, yeah, I'm willing to be marketed to. So that provides them with warm leads, okay, instead of flat out cold leads. So you can basically kind of move consumers down that AIDA sales funnel a lot more quickly in this regard. So segmentation, the segments that you create and ultimately choose, they should follow a number of rules. They should be clearly identified and measurable. They should be big enough at least. You should be able to get to them. They should be interested in your products, things like that. Okay, different kind of broad segmentation variables. We have behavioral, demographic, psychographic, and geographic. And you can kind of break up a market in any fashion. Just you need to have some rhyme or reason. Benefit sought, for example. Why would you break up a market into segments based on benefit sought? Well, maybe it is a product that has, truly some consumers buy it for the quality, some consumers buy it simply for the taste, whether it's quality or not. So, they have different desires there, and the way you market it, those two groups would be completely different. So it might make sense to do such a thing. So lots of different segmentation types. Just look through them all here. We can talk about countless ones of them if you really wanted to, but I'm guessing you don't. Business market segmentation. You've got some other layers here. You can basically type of organization, organization size, organization location, buying process. How do they buy? Do they have a buying center or not? Could be relationship intensity. Some firms you're going to have a very close relationship. Others may be more hands-off. So those could be different segments. So once you've identified all these segments, then you have to do what we call targeting. You have to basically decide which segment you're going to actually go after. And so this is 5 examples of kind of segmentation schemes. The one on the left, single segment targeting. Obviously, you're putting one product into one market. So the P's down the left side are different products. The M's are the different markets. Selective targeting, you're going to have 3 different products for 3 different segments. Mass market, you're going to basically target everyone with everything. Product specialization, you've got one product you're going to target multiple markets with. In market specialization, you have multiple products that you're going to all target to one specific market. So what you choose as a business just really depends on your goals and your strengths and what consumers are looking for. Lots of things like that. Targeting non-customers, okay? You don't really target non-customers, but it's important to kind of take a look at them and understand why they don't like you, why they don't buy your products, why they buy competitors' products. And so if you can understand them better, you may be able to remove some of those roadblocks and turn them into actual customers. Okay, so that's a whirlwind kind of tour of Chapter 5. If you have questions, don't hesitate to let me know, and we'll talk again very soon.